welcome back to another episode of 52 Movies, a series on my channel where I watch and review a movie every week. We're on episode 10 now. Wow. I wanted March to be movie musical month, but I've already failed at this with last week's video being about post-grad. So this week I remembered a movie that my cousins and I watched on repeat back in 2010, and this is a movie called Taking 5. Taking 5 is also not a musical, but it has music in it, so maybe we can get away with it on technicality. Let's just have some fun this week before we get into the more serious musicals. Taking 5 is a 2007 comedy about two fangirls who kidnap their favorite band in order to convince them to play at their school. It's very campy and silly, so we can't take it too seriously, but I am going to poke fun at it just a little bit. This movie stars Daniela Monet, Alana Tall, Christy Carlson Romano, Marcus T. Polk, and oh yeah, the whole Click 5 band. In case you don't remember, the Click 5 is a band from the mid-2000s with hits like Just the Girl,
She's bittersweet, she knocks me off of my feet.
Pop Princess,
Pop princess, hold my hand. Pop princess, I'm a fan.
and Friday Night.
Baby, are you sleeping? My heart is still beating.
I would probably describe them as a classic mid-2000s pop rock band with a little bit of punk and bubblegum pop mixed in. They were really popular in their early years, but steadily declined in popularity after the release of their first album in 2005. One second. So I still have their first album, Greetings from Emery House. What a throwback. Wow. So in 2007, the lead singer Eric Dill left the band and was replaced by Kyle Patrick. Unfortunately, they never really reached the level of success that they had in 2005 and officially broke up in 2013 after a 3-year hiatus. So now that we've had a small history lesson, let's get into the actual movie. The movie begins with opening credits that could only exist in like the mid-2000s.
Hey girl, what's your name? I think I got you looking my way.
It's just, love it. Do y'all remember putting posters of like celebrities and musicians on their walls? I feel like kids don't do that anymore. I guess they actually have taste now. Regardless, it was a fun time. So then we meet our two main characters, Gabby and Devin. They are fans of a band called Five Leo Rise, played by the Click 5. There is a label recycling drive at their school, and whichever school collects the most labels gets to have the band play at their school. Gabby and Devin spend a lot of money on these bottles of juices just to get the labels off of them. Also, it shows that they drank all of the juice. Like in the first scene, they're finishing it off. Why not just take all of the labels off the bottles of juices and then store all of the juice for later? But I guess that would make too much sense. They show up to the label drive with a literal truckload of labels. Also, the classic 2000s Mean Girls are running the label drive. In a freak wouldn't happen in real life accident,
Ow, ow, ow,
Gabby and Devin accidentally set the Mean Girls' hair on fire, as well as all of the labels that they painstakingly collected. Now they are considered losers by the entire school. For one, ruining the Mean Girls' hair, and two, ruining their chances of Five Leo Rise ever playing at their school. Everyone hates them.
Where do you think you're going, you little sawhorse?
All of these characters are so dramatic, I just love it. So in order to mend their horrible reputations, they go to a Five Leo Rise autograph signing in order to convince the band to play at their school. The band turns out to be kind of jerks, and they have Gabby and Devin escorted out by security. The girls are devastated by the day they've just had, and they're crushed by how their idols treated them. They want reparations, so they come up with a crazy idea.
We're gonna kidnap the band and we're gonna force them to play.
In order to complete this mission, they recruit the school genius, because every school has one apparently, and Lincoln and Pete join them on this operation. So then we get a spy movie planning sequence where they plan out the whole mission step by step. Their plan doesn't go well at first, and they fail to kidnap the band. However, the band and our group of kidnappers end up in the same restaurant, and the band accidentally gets into the wrong limo. Well, the whole band except for one member. So our group kidnaps the 4 band members. Then they get to their getaway location, and it turns out their getaway car is a tiny Volkswagen Beetle. The car is so small that they have to abandon yet another band member and are left with just 3. The filmmakers probably did this on purpose so that the band members were outnumbered by the kidnappers, but that's just my theory. Thankfully, Devon's parents are gone for the weekend, so they use Devon's basement to keep the band members. In this dynamic, Lincoln and Pete act as the bad cops, and Gabby and Devon are supposed to be the good cops. Lincoln and Pete are trying to embarrass the band members, and they also film it, and this leads to a lot of funny scenes.
See, if you were a real musician, you could play this guitar. Give me that!
So the plan is for the girls to come in and offer to save them, but only if they'll play for their school. Their plan is ruined when Devon's mask falls down, and they recognize them as the crazy fans from the autograph signing. Even with this revelation, they eventually convince Mason and Scooter to play at their school. However, the lead singer, Richie, will not. Richie is acting like a jerk. He talks like he's better than his band members, so Mason and Scooter turn against him too. Then Mason and Scooter start to bond with Lincoln and Pete over their anger at Richie. The girls have to come up with a new plan to convince Richie to play for their school. They remember that he loves banana cream pie and a comic book hero called the Velvet Raven. Okay, so they dress Devon up as the Velvet Raven, and like most female superheroes, she is not dressed very modestly, to say the least. Devon then goes down to the basement to feed Richie banana cream pie while she's dressed as the Velvet Raven. In this movie, Devon is 16, and we don't know Richie's age. However, with context clues, I can probably assume that he's early to mid-20s. So this is kind of weird. In real life, both actors were in their 20s at this time, but them sharing a tender moment in the context of this movie is a questionable decision. The 2 other band members, KK and Nikolai, make it back to their management and tell them about the whole ordeal. They then decide to go look for the rest of the band. After Devon and Richie share a tender moment, he tells Gabby and Devon that he has stage fright, and the reason why he can't play for their school is because he doesn't have his lip-syncing equipment with him. He says the other band members don't even know that he can't sing live, which is... how would they not know that? But okay. They convince him that they can help him with his stage fright, and then they go and tell the rest of the group about their new plan. After their first attempt to fix his stage fright fails, he runs back to the basement, grabs a guitar, and starts singing to himself. And of course, Devon walks in on it. She gets Richie to sing for her by closing her eyes, and he does, so they're making progress on the stage fright thing. The news of the kidnapping makes it on TV, so Gabby and Lincoln go downstairs to tell Devon and Richie about it, but they walk in on them kissing. Lincoln gets mad, and I haven't mentioned this before, but he has a crush on Devon, so he kidnaps Richie, and in the car ride, Richie confides in him that he is starting to like her. Gabby is mad too. One of the rules was not to crush on the captives. Gabby liked Mason, but because of that rule, she never acted on it. So Devon broke Gabby's trust. Technically though, Richie was the one to lean in, so he initiated it, but whatever. This triggers a best friend fight. And Gabby realizes that Devon has been the one that's been pushing her around and bringing her into things that she didn't want to be brought into. Devon always stands up for Gabby, but she's also the dominant one of the 2, so she tends to make most of the decisions, and Gabby is tired of it, so she's standing up for herself. Then she kisses Mason and storms off. Devon's sister Daniela, or Danielle, I can't remember, snitches on them to their parents, so their parents leave their vacation early. Mason and Scooter try to comfort Devon, and then Lincoln comes back. He's left Richie tied up to a tree in the woods. Devin demands that Lincoln go get Richie, and then they decide to go forward with their plans to have the band play for the school. After a night's sleep, it is now Monday, and it is go time. They have to get the band to the school before the Monday assembly. Somehow the band's management knew that they were going to be at this random high school, so they show up with the rest of the band. Before the assembly, Gabby finally stands up to the mean girls, and everyone at school loves her now. Devin and the boys show up just in time for Monday assembly. The band gets up on stage and thanks the girls for bringing them there, and then the mean girl gets mad and grabs the mic and goes on this long rant. She's quickly booed off stage, and Five Leo Rise begins their concert with a new revamped pop rock version of their hit boy band single, Kidnap My Heart. Personally, I like this version better. It definitely sounds more Click 5. The girls make up and they are best friends again. After the show ends, the band decides to go off and record this new version of Kidnap My Heart, and Daniela, Devin's sister, runs off with Scooter. Everyone is happy, and the movie ends. A true happy ending. Watching this movie again was like taking a time machine back to 2010 when my cousins and I watched this movie over and over. So we didn't watch this movie when it first came out. It was like a few years old by the time we finally watched it. And I think we got this at a yard sale. It's actually the Blockbuster version, so I'm surprised it wasn't like really scratched up when we got it. But maybe it just wasn't that popular. I don't know. But yeah, those were good times. Watching this movie over 10 years later as a woman in her mid-20s, there were some things that I noticed in this movie that kind of didn't sit right with me. There was some language and jokes in this movie that we just don't use anymore. It was almost jarring to even hear them. I guess they weren't totally egregious, but they're definitely things we wouldn't say nowadays. So it's almost like a time capsule for this time in both good and bad ways. Another thing that I noticed that I didn't really pay attention to when I was 15 was the relationship between a 16-year-old high schooler and a 20-something-year-old pop star. Not only is there an issue with age and consent, but there's also the issue of influence and the power imbalance between a normal high school girl and a celebrity. This is rightfully something that is not tolerated nowadays. In fact, there are people coming forward all the time about their experiences with celebrities, them taking advantage of their fans and their position of power. One example would be Austin Jones, a YouTuber who was arrested for his inappropriate interactions with young fans. Another more recent example would be the Davi Vanity allegations, and those are just two examples. There are tons of celebrities and people with influence taking advantage of their young fans, and it is just awful. Maybe it is the fact that we are more aware of these cases, or because I'm an adult and I know it's wrong, but this element of the movie really rubbed me the wrong way. I don't think they had bad intentions with this, but children and teens are easily influenced, so stuff like this should never be romanticized. Just imagine you as a teenager. If your favorite celebrity or artist reached out to you and showed interest in you, you would definitely be starstruck. And that's not a good thing. It's not something that should be normalized. Like I said, as a kid, I didn't think twice about it, but as an adult, I'm just not a big fan of this aspect of the movie. So do y'all remember that phase in the 2000s that every boy went through, where their hair looks really oily? Like, it looks like it's dripping with oil. It was probably gel, but it just looked really gross. The lead singer in this movie, Richie, was definitely guilty of this. I'll try to find a picture and pop it up for you. I just couldn't stop staring at it. Also, it kind of reminded me of Oliver from Hannah Montana. He was a notorious offender of 2000's oily boy hair. Just, ooh. In conclusion, this movie is really cheesy and silly. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and I guess neither should we. Even though it is rather dumb, it was still really fun. And I feel like you can tell the actors had a lot of fun with it too. Like, they also didn't take it too seriously. At times it almost felt like satire or ironic in a way. It just didn't feel real. It felt almost like a YouTube movie in a way. Like a high quality YouTube movie. Very silly and not realistic at all, but also it made for a good time and I enjoyed it. So anyways, I had a good time revisiting this one with you, and if you haven't seen it, give it a shot. I mean, it's free on YouTube still, I think. Sometimes YouTube takes their free movies off, like Post Grad last week. I watched it for free on YouTube, thankfully. before they took it off. I don't know why they do this, and they didn't tell me personally. Rude. But anyways, as far as I know, Taking 5 is still on YouTube, so you can watch it for free on there, or you can go to Prime. I think it's on Prime. But yeah, just watch it for yourself and see how just bizarre and wild this movie is. It's crazy. But I love it. And I hope you enjoyed this review. Hopefully we'll do a musical next week, but I can't promise anything. I've just been doing what I want to do lately. The whole purpose of 52 movies for the past 2 years, was to watch movies that I've been meaning to get around to, but lately, I've just been watching, like, movies from my childhood and movies from the 2000s and stuff. So I haven't really been following my rules, but hopefully next week we'll get back into it. But I've just been having a lot of fun with these stupid movies. I hope you enjoyed too, and I will see you for episode 11. Bye. Okay, now it's time for Song of the Week. So this week I want to recommend an album, actually. And this album is Wincing the Night Away by the Shins. It's an album that came out in 2007. Lately I've been listening to a lot of my old favorites, and I haven't been really digging into a lot of the new stuff. I don't know why, but sometimes I do that. I go through phases where I listen to really old stuff, and then sometimes I'll go back to listening to new stuff and finding stuff to be obsessed with for a while. But lately I've been listening to a lot of older albums, and this album I want to recommend to you because it came out in 2007, the same year that this movie came out, and it's really good. It's one of my favorite albums. But yeah, so we're gonna talk about Wincing the Night Away by the Shins, and this is what the album looks like on YouTube Music. YouTube Music is what I use. I actually pay every month for YouTube Music. I like YouTube Music better than most music streaming services. I like it better than Spotify and Pandora. I like it better than all of those. I haven't tried Amazon Music, so I don't really know about that one, but you can also do, like, if you click on a song and then you want to listen to another song after that, you can go to search and search that song and add to play next or add to queue. So you can make live playlists. So whatever you're interested in that day, like if you're not interested in strictly your running playlist, you can click on one of the songs in your running playlist and then add other songs to that queue. Very cool feature to me. I really like that. Or you can click on an album and then search for another song and add that to the queue after that album. So I love YouTube Music. It is my favorite. But yeah, I'm going to show you just one song from that album. It's the most popular song, so you'll probably know this one. This one's called Australia. So that was Australia. It's one of my favorite on the albums, and it's one of their most popular songs for good reason. It's really good. Also, if you listen to it on like really good speakers, or if you listen to it with earphones in, you can hear the banjo in the background, which if you're playing it out loud on like a low quality speaker or a phone, you might not hear it. But yeah, that's a neat little thing I found out. There's banjo in the song, and I freaking love it. I love banjo. Banjos are fun. I like banjos, mandolins, all of those twang instruments. I love them. So yeah, that was Song of the Week. It was actually an album of the week, but I did show you one of the songs on the album, so it's still Song of the Week. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed. I will see you next week for episode 11, and yeah, bye.